No, I know. I walked over the house answering yesterday and had to go back and change for video.
Okay, so, the Thompson adjustments, we have PI, PIN, PIX, and, PI is a positive D. And then we have negative D, prone and supine. And then we have the SAR and SAL. Okay, so for all of them, we're gonna use two hands, different places. So that's the biggest difference between diversified and Thompson. Thompson, two hands in different places. Diversified is one hand wrapped with the other hand. So if she has a right PI, positive D, I'm going to use my PI's form at the bottom of the PSIS, and I have three choices of stabilization. I can stabilize at the ischial tube with my thumb web, or with the butt of my hand, either way, like that or this. And then I can hold the ASIS, so I could do any of those three. So I personally use thumb web here, so this would be just a straight PI. Thrusting P to A, I to S. PIIN, you stay in the same place, but you come a little bit more medial on your contact, so you're on the inside of the PSIS, because you have to push it out. And now I add torque going down the articulation or lateral, which I think is easier to remember. So it's just that way, or lateral. So straight PI, and then a PIIN. That's down the articulation because your PI's form goes down, but you're still going up with your thrust. So it's easier to remember it is just going lateral. So, PIEX, you do on the same side. So now I'm going to be doing a left PIEX. So I have to stabilize the right side, same way, one of three ways. And now I have to contact the lateral PSIS, but still on the bottom of it. And I still have that P to A and I to S thrust, but now I add torque going medial, or up the articulation. So it's that way. So it's PI, PIN, PIEX. AS is not in the book, but you can do it. You would just contact like you're doing a PI on this side, and thrust on the ischial tube here. So if you had a left AS, you'd set up for a right PI and thrust the left hand. That's not in the book, so it's not on the test. Negative D, we have prone and supine. Remember, negative D is an anterior inferior sacrum or a short leg, anatomical. If we ruled out the short leg, we have an anatomical anterior inferior sacrum. We're going to stand opposite side, so this would be a negative D on the right. Stand on the left. I'm going to contact the inside of the PSIS with my superior hand and the ischial tube with my inferior hand. And this hand goes up and this hand goes out. Just that way. With the drop. They're all with the drop. You can also do that supine, but I'll do SAR first and then we'll come back. So SAR or L, sacral apex, means that the apex goes right or left. So always remember that the apex is the bottom, even though apex usually means top. Apex is the bottom, and it's going to the left or right. So in this case, I'm on the left, so it would have been a sacral apex right. I have to push the apex back towards me and open the SI joints to do it. So I open the SI joint on my side by crossing the leg away from me, like that, and that opens this one, or helps open it. I open this one with my thrust. So I'm on the inside of the PSIS here. And then this hand is on the sacral notch on the side of apex. Something like that. And then I torque it the natural way. I mean, sometimes, I don't know how, but people on the test, they say the torque is this way, but you'd be like coming off the body. So it's painful. So you're going, just think if the apex is that way, you gotta push it this way. Torque it towards you. So that being apex right, coming this way. You want to cross the leg high if you can, at least at the knee, if they can do it. Now you see how she rolled away. That's okay, just lean over, bring her back. But if you cross the ankle, it doesn't do anything to the hip. So for the test, you can cross the ankle. Excuse me, but when you're really doing it, you want to cross the knee. Try to cross high. Okay, can you flip over and we'll do the supine? All right, so supine, now this would be a right negative D. From my Thompson friends, they say the supine one is the one they prefer, it works better. Prone one's easier, but from the purest people, that's what I prefer. All right, so this will be a right-sided negative D. So I'm going to contact the ASIS with the bottom of my hand here, and that's not really doing anything, it's just kind of following the thrust. And I'm going to contact the ischial tube with number 7-8. So I got to get real low with this and thrust straight I to S 3 times. Then I drop this one and bring this one up, stabilize at the knee, and that's just going to help with the drop. Find the ASIS again, and then we're going to put our thenar on the inguinal ligament, which you're supposed to palpate for, but really I don't want to do that. It's kind of close, kind of personal. So if you place the ASIS in between your fingers, like right here, that will put your thenar on the inguinal ligament. So you don't even have to really palpate for it. So just find the ASIS, place that right there, and then my thenar should be on the inguinal ligament. So I don't know if you can see, but you can slide down a second. So that should be inguinal ligament, halfway. Stabilize here again, and then you're going to torque thumb towards the belly button. So you go basically torque medial, torque in from either side. So on the right it would be clockwise, on the left it's counterclockwise. But go in. So when you do this, you should not thrust down into the table. You should thrust that way, over that way. I don't want to do it because I'm right on your seam there, but that way, like that. So you should see their pelvis go like that, to the side, not down. You don't want to thrust down there, that would hurt.
With all these drops, do we use both?
Both drops, yes.
Not okay.
Yeah, I mean, if their patient is positioned correctly, it should ideally be just how she is right there. So the joint you're working on is right in between the two. So you want to use both. And without holding here, it's hard to get that drop to go sometimes. So again, don't thrust. We see students do this all the time. They thrust down like that. You're not thrusting down. You torque. You just torque in. There's no thrust down. You don't want somebody thrusting on inguinal ligament. I mean, there's a lot of important stuff in there. We don't do that. But hold here, and that's why you do that. For the first part, thrust I to S, you should use a lot of force. The table should drop. It shouldn't be a problem. So even though you're not thrusting down, because you do a quick thrust, it should drop on you. Okay, can you flip back over? So those are all Thompson. All the Thompson ones use 3 drops. The 3 is just an average, so you might stop if you feel it move early. Just stop if you feel it. If you need more than 3, go to more than 3. But usually we do 3 for the pelvis and sacrum, and everything above this pelvis and sacrum is officially just 1 drop. But a lot of people do more than 1. I would never do 3 drops on the cervical. That's crazy. But sometimes L5, L4, I'll do more than 1. But most of the other segments, if I do a drop, it's 1 time. Okay, so then diversified is meant to be done without a drop. So it's the kind of adjustment, it's like a backup adjustment. So if you're at a place where you only have a bench, let's say you're at a sporting event or something, you have a portable table, and you can't adjust somebody's side posture for whatever reason, and you don't have a drop, you can do the diversified moves without it. But in here, since we have drops, I would never do them without a drop. It's very uncomfortable. So it's okay if that's all you have, but it's really purely a backup move if you don't use it with the drop. But with the drop, it's just another way to do it, and it's a good adjustment. It's very easy. I prefer personally to do the IN and EX diversified as opposed to Thompson with the torque, and I'll show you what I mean. All right, so if she has a right PI, it's almost like Thompson. Thompson was like this, but now I'm going to switch to my superior hand. All these use superior hand. Positive form on the bottom of the PSIs again, and I just wrap my hand. And the same line of drive, so I stand below it, and I'm coming P to A, I to S. So it's really almost the same thing, just wrap your hand. So the way to do it without a drop would be get on the joint, take it to where you feel tension, and then kind of ease off of it, and then kind of go back and feel where that point is. Just rock back and forth a few times, feel where that point of tension is, and then thrust past that. So you kind of go in, feel it, and then go past it. It's the only time we tell you to like back off. So you really should never do that. But on these, if you're without a drop, you gotta feel where that tension is, and then just give a real quick thrust beyond that. Sometimes you'll get a cavitation. I've only done them without a drop a few times. So that's a straight PI, opposite side. IN is also on the opposite side, but you're going to stand slightly above it and then more straight to it. So I'm not scissored, I'm just facing it. So I find the inside of the PSIS again, superior hand again, and now I'm thrusting out that way. So just that way. No torque for these. And then the EX is on the same side. I stand on the lateral aspect so that I'm pushing in. And I stand slightly below it because it goes down the articulation. So again, I'm not scissored, but I'm straight at it. So now I'm on the lateral PSIS like this. So this would be an EX on the left. So the PI, EX, IN. So personally, like I said, if I do a PI, let's say I do a PIIN, let's say she has a right PIIN, I usually do PI Thompson and then IN diversified instead of doing the PIIN with the torque. I just think you get a better adjustment. If I can't do side posture, I'd rather do side posture. But AS is not in the book again, but you can do it. It's basically the same thing. So PI will be thrusting that way, AS will be thrusting down, so you stand above the joint, contact the ischial spine, and thrust down. So you can do the AS. Same thing if you have an ASEX, ASIN, you do that separate. Split it up. And then the last one is the base posterior diversified. So for that one, you stand on either side. Doesn't really matter, and you have a contact to S2 tubercle, and again use your superior hand. So my hand goes, fingers point down, and I wrap again, and I'm just thrusting straight down through my forearm that way. So just taking it straight down. So that you can also do side posture, just kind of coming in on the S2 tubercle. But sometimes side posture is hard to get, so put them on the drop and just set it this way. The Gonstead way to do that is similar. I personally think it's easier, but I'm biased. So you just use the inferior hand and use superior hand to thrust instead of this. So really, it's the same thing. You're thrusting down through this plane line, but one you use superior hand, one you use inferior hand. Diversified always uses superior hand. I'm not really sure why, but that's how it's set up. So any of those. Again, use the drop in here, or in practice, if you use them, use the drop. It's just uncomfortable.